Joining us on The Informer is Jos De Bruin, CEO of MGA, which is the Master Grocers Australia. Jos, welcome to the program.
Thank you, George. Good to have.
Well, I'm also delighted to know that you're a director of Cosboa, the Council for Small Business Organisations of Australia. So you understand the challenges that are facing businesses at almost every level. But in your industry, you're leading your industry organisation, the MGA, is made up of independently owned supermarkets, liquor and timber and hardware businesses, and they've been doing some terrific business until click and pay came in, or click and collect came in. Is that right?
Certainly in the state, well, around the countryside, when you look at technology and you look at the ability for technology to disrupt, but you also look at technology to assist you with additional business, family and private businesses aren't quite up to the mark that, say, your larger corporations are. So in the state of Victoria, when timber and hardware outlets were restricted to trading with trade only in a COVID-safe manner, but restricting the do-it-yourself guy or anyone that needed to access hardware with a click and collect facility, that left us out on a limb a little bit, because all of our hardware guys, Mitre 10s, Home Timber and Hardware and so forth, they don't have that technology in place right now. So sure, they would have devised some way of connecting with their customers, but nowhere near that of the corporation. So we may have lost some market share and some business to the larger guys because of that.
Your grocery businesses, though, have been right in the middle of that supply and demand chain, haven't they?
There's no doubt about that. And nothing was more evident than in March and April of this year with panic buying. We right across the board, right across Australia, there was panic buying, which, as you know, started off with paper goods and then led to flour and pasta and tinned vegetables, into frozen foods, into such things as yeast, because everybody was staying at home. Our lives had changed. And unfortunately, it was all at the cost of cafes, bars, bistros, hotels. But we found a way to live a little bit differently and to become more self-sufficient at home. I think why was there panic buying? I have to go back to that, and I hope we learned some lessons. We from the outside work with the federal government and the state governments to try and deliver messages to say, in this country, we have so much food. We have so much in the way of groceries and household goods, no need to panic buy. So in Victoria, for example, in those early days, there was a front page article in one of the dailies, and it said, government suggests you buy 2 weeks worth of groceries ahead of the COVID. Well, that was on a Sunday, and you can imagine that the Sunday, Monday of that week, it cleaned all supermarkets out of groceries because people were panicked to buy. So we believe that the panic buying was caused by unclear messaging from state and federal governments at the time, and also that the media, I think, were driving the panic and the fear by what they were hearing. Maybe it was ambiguous, but it was enough to get the public up and running. Now, when you get panic buying and you get the shelves being emptied, and we've got a lot of food and household and groceries and household goods in the country, but the supply chain gets absolutely wrecked, because you can imagine suppliers are working to forecasts. Those forecasts are fulfilling orders. Those orders are being delivered, dispatched. Retailers from around the country are placing those orders, and it's all according to demand, forecasted demand. But when you get people buying 3, 4, 5 weeks worth of stock in one day, no supply chain can cope with that. But we recovered. We recovered by May, which is a good thing. The messaging that was going out there, and you would have heard it from a couple of premiers, you heard it from the Prime Minister Morrison, saying there is no need to go out and panic buy.
You speak of messaging, Jos. Sorry to cut you off there. You speak of messaging. Is the Victorian government speaking to business? Because at the moment, we've got a massive challenge to try and get business and the economy running again, because Lord knows it's been closed for far too long. Now, I understand the health emergency, and I don't want to second guess people there. But so much of the hotel inquiry that's been coming out there and the findings have disillusioned some people, because some of the things we've discovered is that the so-called best medical advice we're getting is not necessarily the best medical advice. So what are they basing their decision making on? And this is the challenge I have at the moment. Business is saying to the Victorian government especially, let's get up and running. We're doing it everywhere else in Australia. Give us a chance to show you we can do it. Have you had any examples of where the government just is not listening in the manner that other governments are listening across Australia?
Look, I think what you'll find from most industry leaders is that we feel we're being heard but not listened to. I think we have a sense that there's no trust in what we say we will do to provide COVID-safe workplaces. And I think as industry leaders and as business, we feel undermined and compromised. If we had a much stronger trusting relationship with government, you can imagine us as industry leaders, we would be absolutely helping and assisting and educating all of our members who are, owners of supermarkets, liquor stores, and it goes across the board.
Yeah.
It goes into accountancy, bookkeeping, you name it. Everybody and anybody that's got a small business, I can almost guarantee they are going to do their absolute best to stay open. And to do that, they will follow the COVID-safe guidelines. I think we feel that we're not trusted.
Yeah.
And that the government is erring on now, wishing to make an announcement on Sunday, for example, and there's a risk of over-prescription, making the rules complex. And now those businesses that are able to open or may be able to open from next Monday, they're going to live in a bit of fear, thinking, am I breaching? Am I compliant? Am I up for a fine? And so there's this fear and uncertainty now that we're having to deal with. George.
There's another thing you have to deal with too, and that's the fixed business costs that all businesses face. That is the payroll taxes, the electricity, the rent, so to speak. And now, many of those businesses are being told that if they do open, it'll be with certain numbers. Now, you know full well, you've got to make the numbers work for you. If it's unsustainable to open a restaurant with 10 people, serving 10, 20 people, then you can't open. And as we're hearing it from people of the calibre of Chris Lucas and others, give us a chance, give us a manageable number that we have shown we can control in other states. We can do it here too. Now, surely you would have seen the numbers challenge in the businesses that you've been operating. You can't open and have 1,000 people come into your supermarkets. You've been given a number and you can work with it.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. And I think by and large, business owners, they just want to do the right thing and they want to comply with any regs. The example you make of creating an opportunity for restaurants, bars, cafes to have outdoor dining. Look, that's a great idea, but if we were living in Queensland, it would be practical. But we're living in... No, I'm serious.
No, I agree with you. Yeah.
No one wants to sit outside in Melbourne. Our weather is so unpredictable. I think, you could say that 10% of evenings, 10% of the evenings that we experience are those evenings where we might be able to sit outside. Now, that varies, of course. So it varies. If you're around the bay or the coastal areas, it's going to be a lot cooler and windier. You go inland, and of course, that situation might be able to occur. But I guess your point is, what's the point of opening a business if it's unviable to open it?
Yeah.
And the unviability is caused by the lack or the ability to fill your restaurant, basically.
And the other question I want to run past you is, are we going to see landlords, for example, who also have been coping and having their challenges as well, are we going to see them take a more pragmatic approach and say to those businesses that have been struggling, look, we can review those rents, maybe hit a reset button and give everyone a chance not only to catch up, but to get ahead? Do you think that's a possibility? Are we seeing that across Australia?
Look, I think the pain has been endured by landlords as much as the tenants.
Yep.
For all the reasons we know. Look, the tenants have definitely been protected in all states through legislation around rent relief.
Yep.
And that rent relief has been associated with JobKeeper. So you apply for JobKeeper, you're eligible for rent relief, and a landlord must comply with that. It's evident to us here in Victoria that that legislation is going to have to continue on until the end of March.
Yep.
But I don't know how long the landlords can hold out for. It's really important that we get businesses back to businesses so that those landlords can be paid their appropriate rent. No one wants to deprive a landlord of what they're entitled to, George.
No, I understand that entirely, but I also understand too that the conditions of the original rent deal were based on a whole different set of premises and dynamics which don't exist today. And therein lies another battle and another story and another interview down the track. Jos, thank you very much for joining us. We wish you continued success. As you say, it's been a very complicated but very interesting year. I think Christmas is coming at a rate of knots. I hope we are open for business, and I hope those supply chains can meet the demand.
Thank you, George.
Pleasure.
Really appreciate the opportunity.
No worries. From the MGA, Jos De Bruin. Thank you.